This is the third taxi rank at Euston Station in 5 years. Why so many taxi ranks? Well, the long answer, I don't know. The short answer is HS2. A lot of taxi jobs will originate from stations, so that's why ranks and specifically how they are designed are really important to ensure the flow of traffic and passengers gets to where they need to go. When I got out, the very first station I ranked at Euston was this crazy underground one. There was always something fun with this rank. Maybe it's the multiple levels and curves that were reminiscent of a Hot Wheels car garage. And you can still half see the skeleton of these ramps from various viewpoints at Euston Station. Starting on Melton Street, you'd go down one ramp, then followed by another ramp which split off into two before you would do a U-turn and end up at the final portion of the taxi rank where all the cabs would convene in one line. It's also at this legendary rank that we got the cabbie slang of apples at Euston, which translated into normal English basically means there's a lot of work at Euston Station. The stairs that the passengers would take to get down to the taxi rank would join straight into the taxi queue, so you'd only get about a dozen or so people in the queue before that queue would start ascending up the stairs. Cockney rhyming slang for apples and pears, stairs. Up the stairs at Euston, apples at Euston. Other popular terms that originated from the station were the Sports Direct mob for some of the cab drivers and apparently their attire at this rank. Another one which indicated how slow the taxi rank was moving is Euston is Meltoned, which basically was the taxis would hang out into Melton Street as part of overranking, meaning that it's going to be a long time before you're getting a job. In terms of access, you'd either come from Gordon Street and you'd forward over into Melton Street. From the west, you would take a left into Melton Street, or even from the north, if you're coming from the Camden direction, you could come in from Cardington Street, and that would get you into Melton Street. And leaving the rank, there was lots of options as well. However, once HS2 came in, it was the northern part of Melton Street leading into Cardington Street that they got rid of first. So just made it a little bit of a problem if you was taking passengers up to, say, Camden. Then we had the second rank in West Garden. We always knew this was going to be a temporary rank. The main drawback of this rank was the lack of space. There was something that would always have to be compromised. If you stick a lot of taxis to get as many taxis as possible on the rank, you then remove the amount of room you have to get out of the rank, which became one of the big problems of Euston rank number 2. It served both as a drop-off and taxi rank itself, and it had this double barrel design. But what was different than, say, Paddington, which seemingly has the same design, and I covered the differences between these two ranks in a video over here, the issue with this rank is that there's no opportunity for the taxis to unshuffle themselves. In the case of Paddington, there's an opportunity during the U-turn for the taxi to reconvene back behind the cab that they're supposed to be behind. Euston didn't have this, so as a result, you could come to that final loading platform and neither taxi driver nor passenger would know which cab was next. There could be 5 cabs on the right-hand side, followed by 1 cab on the left side, and so forth. And it wasn't helped by this silly barrier they put in place. Of course, if there's a barrier there, no passenger can jump in because the barrier is in the way of the doors. Even the comedian Jason Manford publicly shared his comments on how crap he thought the rank was. And the final problem was the phasing of the traffic lights and that there was hardly any room to leave the rank. If there's loads of punters at Euston, then you'd have like 10, 15 taxis all loaded up, ready to go. But the lights would only let out 4, maybe 5 taxis if they were quite efficient on the lights. Added to the fact you might even have taxis dropping off simultaneously, that whole rank West Garden area would be completely chock-up with taxis. Not a fun experience for the driver or the passenger. April 2024, we have this reincarnation of the rank. And to be honest, this looks a much better design, not just aesthetically, but some of the technical features that help keep this rank running smoothly. I'm dubbing it the carousel because it kind of reminds me of that iconic corner on the Nürburgring racetrack with all the funky colours and the sharp bend, bit like here at the rank. And of course, cabbies have already come up with their own names on Twitter. I've heard of the Big Top because it's kind of circus-like, or the Pride Snake because of the multiple colours and the S kind of shape if you viewed it from above. When you approach the rank from Upper Woburn Place or Eversholt Street, there's signage to tell you if the cab rank is full or not, meaning that if you're trying to get there, is there actually space on that rank? And the actual access is for taxis only, meaning that private hire drivers will supposedly get ticketed if they try and drop off or for some reason join the rank. In terms of the actual rank mechanism, it looks to be one continuous line round to the point, but there is like a secondary feeder portion. So I'd imagine you fill up one line, and then if more cabs were to join, they would fill up the second half, and they would then reconvene back behind the cab that they're then behind. I'm not too sure of the exact mechanism of this, where they would rejoin, but presumably it's going to be in the U-turn before they come back to a single file line of taxis. But as pretty as this rank looks, there's already some big flaws with it. Firstly, it's just getting there. If you're coming from the west, forget about it. Now, we have a taxi rank committee who communicate with Transport for London and the various boroughs of London that consult on things like where taxi ranks should be, how they're designed, how cab drivers can get to them, etc. But they point blank refuse the left turn from Euston Road into Eversholt Street. So the required movement, if you're heading eastbound along the Euston Road from the west, is that you have to do a right into Upper Woburn Place, get a sneaky U-turn so you can head north into Eversholt Street. Not ideal. It's okay right now because you can still drop off in the old rank at West Garden. But for how long? Because I'm sure HS2 or someone will want to reclaim back that space, and then the trouble might ensue. If you're heading along the Euston Road and the passenger can see, pretty much touch Euston Station, are you really going to say to them, sorry love, got to do a right into Upper Woburn, wait for the traffic lights, do a U-turn, then go forward into Eversholt Street, then I can drop you off, potentially add in, I don't know, another 2-3 quid to the meter? I think there's going to be a lot of people jumping out on the Euston Road, which, as the Euston Road is the closest thing to a major arterial road in London, I think it's going to be causing some problems in the future. I don't get why they can't just allow us access in the same way the buses do, by taking this left turn by the Euston Tap. It's also frustrating because you can't do the left from Churchway. We lost this left turn because of the cycle lane that was installed during the COVID pandemic. Now, even though that cycle lane's been removed, they've not reinstated that left turn into Churchway. So basically, it's a case of if you're coming from the south or the north, not a problem to get to this rank. East, you can take the right turn into Churchway, but it's still a little bit convoluted to do that. Now, the access for leaving the rank doesn't look too bad in this video, but it'd be very interesting to see how it will play out in busy times, or if there's a lot of buses that are also wanting to exit. But the good parts of this rank, well, it's very clear who is now on points. There's no confusion or no arguments, and it looks like it's much easier to leave the rank. I'm not entirely sure what the light sequence is saying, but as it's a dedicated left and right turn, that should allow taxis to flow out much better. I myself, I've not gone there as of yet because I'm going to wait for all the fuss to die down, because cabbies are kind of joining up like it's a new attraction or new fairground ride or something like that. Have you, as a passenger or driver, used this new taxi rank at Euston? I'd like to know your thoughts and feedback and what works well and not so well about this rank. If you've not already seen it, then I'll leave the video on screen about the old Euston rank and why Paddington is still arguably the best taxi rank in London.